Another day, another recording, another chapter. Well, I'll be doing something a little bit different today, as we'll be playing a game. So this game is a game that you'll see, right? Okay, so let me just do this here. Right. Okay. Okay. So the while loop will continue to perform its loop as long as its conditions are met. The while loop will do its job until it's done. No questions asked. So obviously you'll be doing a game, right, in this chapter. So compared to for loops, while loops are pretty simple. They only have one part, a Boolean expression, terms where the loop will run and continue to run. So this is an example of a while loop, right? That's an example, right, of a. So this is a while loop. While money is greater than zero, buy things, save money, pay taxes. This loop executes three functions: buy things, save money, and pay taxes, as long as the value of the money variable is greater than. The for loop has a final expression that changes the value of the counter. The while loop requires you to have an expression or expressions inside the loop that can change the result of its condition. The three function calls we created inside the while loop are just made up names. If you were to actually write these functions, they would need to update the value of the money variable so the loop stops at some point. But of course, this one loop you don't stop. So you need to modify the value of the while loop. Otherwise, if you don't, you might create something called an infinite loop. It won't damage your computer, but likely cause your web browser to freeze up and cause you to force it to quit, risking losing any unsaved changes. So make sure you while loops carefully to make sure they're not infinite. So looping a certain number of times, right? Okay. So for example, before I go on, let me give you an example. This is an example of a while loop, right? So here's the variable. The variable is day, right? And it equals 0. So that'll be the day. So the reset form, right? So that's basically basically there's nothing to practice. So basically, if you had to refresh or refresh your page, it's just going to show absolutely no value. Variables equals 0, right? So here's your while loop. Your while loop, right? So the 0 basically represents the variable. So and what you're dealing with is money, right? So while money is greater than 0, right? And then here's an incrementation value, right? So basically, it's gonna it won't increase or decrease the value, but it's just gonna go one day ahead. Right? It's just gonna go one forward in regards to the value. It's gonna go one day ahead. So the very price day equals get sandwich price. The variable number of sandwiches document get element by ID. Number of sandwiches dot value. Variable total price today times number of sandwiches. Right. If so basically this is an if else statement, but it's not important enough for me to state beforehand. So let me continue. Right. So basically, okay, this is a while loop. A while loop. That the variable is I and equals 0 while I is good. So 500 is greater than I. So count along would be the that would be the count log. So that the program takes all the same three parts in a for loop initialization condition final expression, but only the conditions inside the parentheses. The initialization being this part for the while loop, and the final expression, this part is inside the while loop. So to create a loop that counts, you can just modify a variable inside every pass to the loop and use that variable inside other statements in the loop, right? So count down to while. So variable count equals 10, while count is greater than 0, alert count, alert blast off, right? So counting with while, right? Then looping through an array. Looping through arrays, the while is easier than it is with for. To loop through an array with while, should the condition in the loop to test whether an array element has been declared. Just whether an element has been declared, just put the name of the array, the counter variables and parentheses on the while keyboard. So looping through a list of names. So this example is looping. So all of this is just looping. All these examples just based on looping, right? Deborah, Carla, Mary, Susan, basically carrying names. So calling the launch game, right? So you're gonna go to VS Studios, you've got a dummy source code, download that PDF, right? And then extract it, then get chapter 18, and then you place it inside a folder that I named second book, right? So basically, do chapter 18, go to VS Studios, create an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? Got a variable price today, get sandwich price, then a variable number of sandwiches. So that's what you get. So basically, you got that. What I've got in my JavaScript, right? Variable to the total price. So basically, this is the total number of sandwiches that you want by the count sandwich price today, right? Times number of sandwiches. I don't know whether there's enough money to buy sandwiches if money is greater than or equal to the total price, right? With the current price sandwich by making a call to the get sandwich price function assign between value to a variable. At this point, take a look at the get sandwich price function. Its purpose is to randomly generate a number between 1, 5, and 20 that value in the number of sandwiches that the user entered into the form field. Number of sandwiches document get element by ID, number of sandwiches equal dot value. So that's what happens. There's enough, subtract the total price from the count money balance, right? So basically the total price that you're gonna get, right? You're gonna take basically the price for one sandwich, right? So the price of a sandwich would be $20, and then you're gonna times it by the number of sandwiches that have been ordered, right? As a result, that'll be your total price, right? So the money balance is how much money you currently have. So you're gonna do money minus total price, and that equals to the amount of money, right? That can be the amount of money that can be paid over, and the amount of money that you have will determine whether or not you'll be able to purchase what you want. So yeah, increment the lunch variable which keeps track of how many lunches were purchased. So the increment variable be included. I'll put a message tell the user the price of sandwich has just bought and how much money he has left. So we're gonna get element by ID, right? So yeah, you're gonna get a receipt, right? Then you gotta get a tag, which is on day, close the day, and the price of the sandwich, price plus price today, right? Plus the amount of money that you have. So this is basically the overall formula. If right, as you can see, we've attached the toFix method to the money variable. The toFix method converts a number to a string while keeping the number of decimals specified with parentheses. In this case, we're printing out a counting value. So we're gonna use 2 decimal places, right? The else clause of the if else, right? Handle cases with the amount of money left isn't enough to buy the specified number of sandwiches. Else clause runs output a message that's special for when the user doesn't have enough money for another document, right? So it's gonna be so the else if, right? Obviously this is the else statement that you're gonna see. You don't have enough money, maybe your sister will give you some of her sandwich. That's so embarrassing. So within the else clause, set the value of money, put 0 in order to prevent the loop from running again. Money if else statement, the while loop with curly brackets. Loop completes output the total number of lunches that the user was able to buy. So that's that, and yeah, you got your own game. Right, you've got your game, right? That's what you've got. I'm sure you want to see everything, right? I'll show you now. So basically, here's the variable. So the function reset form, basically when you refresh the page, it's gonna show you nothing. Variable day 0, wow, money, right? So basically, yeah, that's what you're gonna see there, right? So while the money is greater than 0, your variable, right? So to execute your different basically your different equations are gonna get your variable price, right? Your variables, variable price today, variable number of sandwiches, and variable total price, right? To get sandwich price, document dot get element by ID, number of sandwiches dot value, right? So number of sandwiches, is basic document dot get element by ID, number of sandwiches, right? So basically, this is sourcing from your HTML. So this number of sandwiches, that's what it's sourcing from, right? And then if money greater equal to the total price, right? Total price, price today times number of sandwiches. Money is greater or equal to the total price. Money was money minus total price. Incrementation of lunches, right? Get element by ID receipt in an HTML plus equal on date plus day, right? Price plus price today. We have price plus money to fix plus left. That's what you've got. Basically, yeah, that's what you've got. So same thing there. Get element by ID receipts. So basically, all you get element by ID is basically sourcing out all the div identification all the identification that you have in HTML, like for example, number of sandwiches and receipts, once your JavaScript, right? So you obviously document just to refer to the fact that document obviously is just to refer to the fact that you gain the ID basically from the same document, right? That you gain from a HTML document, right? That's where you gain it from. So document getting the ID in your HTML. Obviously, you want it to be in your HTML that's going to be displayed on the browser. Then you board. Obviously, you want this to be shown, right? And then the lunches, right? The lunches. Obviously, lunches doesn't have a value as you can see here. So it can mean anything that you put or how much of it you buy. So you bought plus lunches. So this will basically describe how much of it you bought. Which function gets sandwich price. So you'll get sandwich price, right? So that's what it's gonna get. So variable sandwich price equals math random. So obviously, yeah, it's something that you can even do on the console of JavaScript, right, in your web browser. So obviously, if you're there in your web browser about blank, right click, inspect, right click on that, go to your console, math.random, brackets, times, right, 1 minus 0. Obviously, you need to add the 0 because the 0 is the value, right? Pretty much is the value of the number of lunches. Then 1 is basically the decrementation value, then plus 1 to fixed, right? Return sandwich price. Then here's your function, a function prompt, reset form, get element ID receipts, in your HTML. So, yeah. So basically, yeah, it's sourcing from the HTML. It's sourcing everything from the inner HTML, right? And the HTML also it means all the stuff that's been sourced from the HTML file, right? The file that you have with HTML. So that's what it means, right? And then got a while if you also got a while if function. So obviously let, the reason why I'm using a let is because let is for more privatized values in your document, right? It's for more privatized ones. Right, so everything is privatized in your let, right? Just let password and while, right? So while so while basically it's gonna require everything that's, so while, right, for this, hold on. So basically your while loop, so while loop, right? So basically the while loop, right, you will execute a block of code repeatedly as long as specified condition evaluates to true. The if statement, on the other hand, execute a block code only once if a specified condition is true, right? So combining these two allows for condition executions within the loop. So let's say, for example, right, you've got the password, right? Your password, Okay. And then you got your password. So basically this practically means not equal to. So your while has to be true, right? And if it's true, then you obviously prompt this one, right? You obviously prompt the if loop. So if the while loop is true, you prompt the if loop, right? And if the if loop is true as well, that means you'll execute you you execute a condition, right, within the loop, right? A conditional execution within the loop. So with this symbol means that if the while loop, right, for password must not equal to the word password, right, to prompt this response. Right, so the prompt, let's say for example, right, the exclamation mark, then equal ish, right, or exactly ish or true ish, right. So in order for it to be true, the password that you put in must not equal to password, right? It mustn't equal to password, mustn't equal to it, right? So the let user input, right, prompt password please, right? That will ask for the password, right? Then if while the while loop is true in this case, then for the if loop, right, it's gonna prompt that. So let's see here. And before I go on, so let's user input, right? So let the user input, right? So let user input in prompts, right? So user input, right? It will tell your browser to leave a space for you to put in your values, then the prompt, right? So this is the phrase that's gonna be prompted, right? So you need hash in the password, right? So the while loop, it doesn't need anything, any value, right, to be prompted, right? But so it doesn't need that. But the if loop is strict, so it needs a strict true function, right? A strict true value. So the user input, so the password will be password, right? So it will be password. You need to put this in for you to be correct. Both of these need to be correct for you to execute conditional execution within a loop, which means you'll be able to access the document, right? So the while password is basically while loop for for this will just prompt right, just prompt a user input, right, just be a prompt. Then if will be an execution of that loop. So while if looping, right? So while it's not that strict, all you need to do is for while it basically is the first step for the conditional execution. Then if it's the second to last one, it's the final one. Voilà, you have, as you saw, as soon as I added anything other than password, as you saw, even the search, but as soon as I add the word password, I got that. Okay. 10 is order, then you got that. See? So basically you get a liquid allowance of $20 to buy a lunch. Sandwiches always between 1 and 0, but you never know the price until you get to school because you able to buy lunch every day of the week. I mean, sandwich you want per day, so obviously I decided to be greedy. Let me decide to be greedy, right? So I'll decide to buy 20 sandwiches today. So today's sandwiches are this or 1.60. You don't have enough money. Maybe your sister would give some for lunch. You bought some zero lunches this week. So I just went through everything, right? This order. Samsung, you got $9 left. Samsung 1.71. You don't have enough money. Maybe your sister will give you some for sandwiches. You bought one lunch this week. Such a things in this world. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed that lesson and I hope you learned a lot from that. Take care. God bless. God bless.